Call the Crawford County Commission meeting to order Friday, June 8th, or 28th, 2019. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving along, we're gonna approval consent agenda. Do we need to, we'll do the motions.
Go ahead and sign them, and then we have one that we would like to,
Alter.
we'll rescind one, and then we're gonna add a replacement motion. So we'll go ahead and sign these as presented, and then we can take care of that in a minute.
Okay, sounds good. Any issues with the minutes?
I have none, and I'll move to approve.
Second? I guess go ahead and signing of the motions?
Yeah.
We had three motions from the last meeting to sign. The first motion is 19-188, that the consent agenda be approved. The second motion is 19-189, to approve the purchase of 4 BMX 500 blades and mounting boards for the motor graders from DMC Wear Parts LLC for a total price of $3,069. And the last motion is 19-190, to approve the purchase of a remanufactured engine from Summit Truck Group to repair a dump truck for the Road and Bridge Department for a total cost of $13,850.
And Jim, you said it was an additional one that needed?
Well, we're gonna
amending?
rescind
We
motion.
can talk about it, yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and do it right now. Yeah, motion 19-189. After the meeting, we received some updated information with the new amount. And so we decided, talking to Bobby, that we needed to go ahead and make a motion to rescind motion 19-189, and then to approve, if you so choose, a new motion with the new amount.
Basically what happened is when we talked this morning, I talked to Bill Mirando, and they would like one.
Yes.
When I adjusted that, the price wasn't accurate. I was off by a little bit because the size I was told was a 12-foot and it's a 14-foot blade, so there was a discrepancy there. So I guess I'll make a motion to rescind motion 19-189,
Yeah.
I will second.
and then it was just a correction on that. So I guess, does everything look fine there?
Yeah.
So I'll make a
So
motion.
everything else is the
This is
same?
fine now. It was
Okay.
what I did is I just ratioed out the cost. So that motion was $3,069, and it's really $3,385.
Okay, so the
it's
equipment
just-
is the same and everything?
It's the same, it's just, I didn't ratio it out correctly because the size I was given was wrong.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I guess I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the purchase from DMC Wear Parts, amount of $3,385.20.
And I will second.
Okay, thank you.
Can I get a copy of that with the right amount on it? Yeah. Oh, you want to? Thank you.
All right, so moving on. First up, Mr. Jim Zever with Earls Engineering, update on sewer district number 3, Force Main relocation. Jim, how are you? Oh, were you in front of him?
Oh, it's okay.
Sorry,
That's okay.
you were.
I'm enjoying it.
Jim Zever, Earls Engineering, working on the sewer force main in Franklin. And I think I give everybody a handout here. Ronnie has got all the survey work done. He completed it this week. And we've got the easements laid out for all the pipes and the totals on them. Jim's working with me on the easements, get them written up, and should have them ready to give the landowners for signature and execution here real quick. On the short term here, I'm looking at is next week. I don't have any drawings right now, but next week, probably next Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm getting together with some engineers from Salina, and we're gonna go through the drawings and do a walkthrough on the whole thing. We've called for all the utilities to be refreshed out there, the locates, so that we can do a walkthrough, make sure everything is fine. We're looking at completing all of the documents and get them ready somewhere around the third week of July to give to you guys. Everybody can have a chance to review for about a week. Fourth week, we'll set it in there to KDHE for permit. Now, before we go permit, we have to have the easements executed. So somewhere around the end of July, we'll be sent to KDHE. Depending on how long it takes to get back from KDHE for permit, we have to have the permit before we go to bid. Somewhere around mid-August, looks like we'll be advertising for bids. Hopefully, mid-September, accept bids, give them 30 days and have the contracts executed for the contractor end of September and start construction somewhere around the 1st of October. That's just off the top here right now.
Okay. We had a question the other day. What does this line consist of? What is it?
It's PE, it's polyethylene.
Polyethylene?
It has fused joints.
Okay.
Yeah, there would be no mechanical joints in it. It'd be a fused. And so it makes it a lot better. They don't
Is that-
blow apart.
So is most of one continuous line? I mean,
It's a what?
One continuous, and then they fuse the
Yeah,
the
it's
weld
heat,
tube?
it's them heat ones. They got big plates and they put it together. Comes in big rolls. We're gonna do some encasement in other locations that agreements made with the farmers, where they have their entries into the field, because this is restricted access.
Okay.
We're going to encase the pipe and still lay it by trench where they enter their fields, but we're going to encase it in steel encasement so their large equipment doesn't tear it up. We're going to protect the pipe at all possible there. And we got a few pretty good bores on it, but nowhere near what we had before,
Okay.
as far as directional drilling goes. So it ended up working a little bit better.
All right. Ron, do you have anything to add?
No, it sounds good. He'll have the easements Tuesday.
It'd be pretty quick here.
Okay.
We'll get all the field work that we need to do is done.
Okay.
When it comes down to construction, if they want us to lay out center line project, we can do that. That's all right.
Good.
Yeah. Any more questions? I'm here. And,
Yep. I got your
available.
numbers. I appreciate it.
That's all I had today.
All right.
Thanks,
Awesome,
guys.
thank you for the update.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
All right. Sorry about that. Going back. Message from the Crawford County Local Board of Health. Oh, that's, you're Susan Perry.
Susan Perry,
All right.
governmental entities.
Bring this. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you bet.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Did you guys receive the mailing, I believe? A cover letter, and then behind there, probably don't mean anything until I explain them a little bit.
There's that.
Thanks.
The Southeast Kansas Area Agency on Aging is the agency that I represent today, and we provide services to seniors, people who are 60 plus. On your cover letter, there's a legend of the main services that we provide: attendant care services, meal services, both in a congregate setting where they can go and socialize, and on a home delivered basis for those who can't or don't wish to get out. We provide food purchased for an individual in need at times with one-time spending funds, and homemaker of an elderly person who has needs just sometimes has to have a break themselves or take time to go to the doctor themselves or a grocery store or whatever, and we have people that can come in and sit with that individual while the caregiver is gone. The second couple of pages in your packet is just a little chart showing you what the cost of those services per units of measure are. When we do our budgets, we have to also give them units of service. And it depends on which service we're talking about, what that unit costs. In most cases, a unit is a measurement of time. Like 1 unit on a lot of these programs is 15 minutes. Other services, a unit might actually be $1, and so on and so forth. But these 2 pages will show you which services and how they're measured. And then it'll go on to show you the number of, this is just a 1-month report, by the way. And it'll go on to show you the units of service that are used in Crawford County. So this report, I believe, is February, and it's just for Crawford County. And all of those numbers translate over here a little bit into this spreadsheet. On the spreadsheet, on the left-hand side, they're heading 2018 audited funds spent on services. You see a total about halfway down of $2,163,000. That is the total that we spent on these services out of our agency. Some of them were funded by federal dollars. Some of these services were funded by state dollars. And we also are required, the federal dollars require us to have a match. So some of those matches, or actually most of those match dollars come from the counties that we serve. The $725,000 down at the very bottom of that column shows the federal dollars that have come into the agency for those services. So out of a spending of $2.1 million, only $725 of that is federal. I know a lot of people think when there's a federal program going on that the federal government pays for that program, but they really don't. They put in their piece, but they want everybody else to help too, which is reasonable. So then the middle column shows the portion of those federal funds that have been spent in Crawford County. And the right-hand column shows the dollars of state funds that we spent in Crawford County alone. We serve a 9-county area for most of our services. We actually have an 11-county area where there are some extensions in the other 2 counties. So all of this translates into, when we put the numbers together with our little calculator, the federal match that is required for us to show the federal government for the dollars that we spend in Crawford County is $23,873 is the match that we need, and that is the amount we're asking from Crawford County. Most counties like to have a little invoice or statement to work from, so I've included this in the packet, this little statement for you guys to have for your books. And on the cover page, you will notice that we have mentioned that according to federal regulations, out of a thing called Super Circular 2 CFR, the federal government has decided that we cannot use the county monies for meals unless the county says that's what it's for, either on their check stub or in an accompanying document. Like if you were to send us $10,000, but you wanted to earmark $2,500 for meals, you would have to say that on the check stub for us to be able to use that. So we do ask that whatever the county is kind enough to award to us, that it does mention what you would like for us to spend on meals so that we can show that to any federal auditor who asks.
So if it's not indicated, then
It's
on the
just
check.
general mill levy money. And we have other services that we can use it for, that's for sure. But by just sheer numbers, the meals program probably serves a larger number of unduplicated individuals than any other program.
So on the, I'm looking at a couple different copies here, one electronic and one physical. So on the second and third pages where it lays out the numbers for the various services. So like under where it says the the code for the HMEL, the home delivered meal.
Right.
So it says the customer count is 149 and then units paid 25,837. So is that, am I reading that as 149 meals were served or 149 people were served at the cost of 25,000?
Meals is, I'm not seeing oh, over here, okay. That's one meal.
So it says the units of measure is one meal.
Right, and
then-
149 people were served out of this program in February.
Okay, at the cost of 25,000.
Units paid, like, customer, okay, yeah. Because one person, 149 customers, but they're going to eat 5 days a week. And in some cases, on the home
Oh,
delivered
okay,
meal,
so
they're going
that-
to eat 7 days a week.
That part is not reflected then in this.
Right, and that's what is multiplied out here.
Gotcha, okay. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that.
So, yeah.
I was reading that correct, okay. So then you said the total number of meals for the month was,
Over 3,000-ish.
Which one are we looking at? And they're also listed by funding source or program too.
right,
You're
I
looking
saw,
at-
I saw that they're duplicated across multiple, so that is
Right.
not the actual
Right.
total number.
And if you guys do have any specific questions on any of those, I can get a little better chart and email it to you or to Don and he can distribute it.
And I guess, you're saying the checks, we need to make a note that it's for, is that nutrition program, does that?
Right.
Okay, go to
Yep,
the
that will work.
meals
Yep.
funding or whatever that kind of category. 'Cause I think
Yeah.
that's, we've got a couple of, pledges or monies we've earmarked for the area agency on aging. And I was looking for 2019.
Elderly funds and the alcohol funds.
Yeah, well, we have out of our elderly funds, we had earmarked 18,250 for the nutrition program, and then an additional 6,000 for. I'm
The
not
other
exactly sure
services.
what that was for. Is another
For matching
another-
funds for the other services,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But it is good and is required by the federal regulation now that you do tell me that on the pay stub. That
Okay.
you restrict it to that.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm restricted to using it all as a general match to the
Yeah,
other programs.
not
Yeah,
to the nutrition program.
yeah.
So that ratio that we have there, the 18,250 to meals and the 6,000 elsewhere, I mean, is that roughly where it needs to be, or would you want to see more?
It probably is. This is for the 2018 year. The
Right,
year
yes.
ended 9/30/2018. I really think that we've grown that program a lot in 2019. So some of that structure may change. But that will meet the biggest piece of our need for match. In that proportion will meet the biggest part
Okay.
of our need for match.
So something in that range
Yeah,
then?
if you're really interested, before the following year, we can do an actual revenue allocation comparison and see how much money we are totally spending on meals and how much on the other services, and you can allocate it that way
I
if you
would
wish.
be interested to see that, yes.
Okay, yeah. I
That
can-
would be helpful, yeah,
I can do
because if
that.
we can match up what we're providing with actual services being provided, I think that would be ideal.
You bet.
I think the one we're most aware of is the mills. We don't,
Yeah.
a lot of times we don't realize a lot of those other services are going on in
That's true.
in the county.
Mm.
Yeah.
And,
That's true. I just kind of, the older people start to having to stay home and they don't see anybody, you just don't realize what their needs really grow. And if
Yeah.
they're still married, their spouse is still living, the needs of that spouse really grow too. So,
yeah.
and it's a growing population with the baby boomers like me getting into that group, and So we want to really work hard in the next few years to make sure that that doesn't become an underserved population in our area.
Absolutely,
Yeah. So-
certainly. Well, this is very helpful. Thank you for coming in.
Oh, you're welcome. My
providing
pleasure.
this. Yeah, this
It's,
is good. It's
I'm an
good
old
to see
Gerard
this.
girl, so it's good to see the building and the changes, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your
Well,
time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
I'll
it.
probably be in contact. I'd like
Okay.
to see if you could, some of those kind of, the report that you talked about, that kind of does
Breakdowns.
analysis of our ratio of other services to,
Bless you.
Right.
nutrition and things like
I know I
that.
can do a general allocation this afternoon for you, but it would take probably a little more concentrated effort to break just Crawford County out from that. I have to get with some program workers and
Sure.
whatnot.
Well, at least that'd be your whole area
Yeah.
wide.
Right.
I mean, that'd probably give us a pretty good idea. I
It would, the
imagine.
percentages don't change a lot from
Yeah.
county to county, although Crawford County does have the bigger communities like Pittsburgh, and some of your other communities do not have. So your percentages could be a little heavier on meals, actually. I would look for it to be.
I would be interested to see that variation, like if
Yeah,
it,
sure.
how we compare, because like, so it's 11 counties in the southeastern,
9 basically, but there are a couple of counties we do kind of some small work in.
so is Crawford the biggest in that?
Yes,
Okay.
sure is.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if the proportions varied at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Kind of made me think there, I'd kind of broken out on this report, and I could give you a copy of that. The other Meals on Wheels, Frontenac, the Girard Congregate Mills site, the Pittsburgh Meals on Wheels, do most of the other counties have other entities kind of doing those programs in addition to what you guys provide?
Allen County does serve meals. They have a congregate site, and they do a few home delivered meals. Most of their workers are volunteers, and the meals are prepared at the jail. Now, the difference in their meals, and so we don't have as large a service number in Allen County proportionately as we do in other counties because of that. The drawback, in our opinion, is that they are not required then, since they're not getting federal funding and state funding, they're not required to meet a certain nutrition requirement with those meals. So, and I'm sure they do their best, and I'm sure that those meals are good for those seniors. But we are definitely required to prove that we meet certain requirements, and we have a nurse that measures things and puts it through their program that will measure the nutrition amount of this and the substance of that and feed it back to us to keep us in compliance with that. The jail over there does not have anything like that. But I'm sure that they do try to do their best to get them some milk and get them veggies and get them fruit and all of that. But Allen County does have that. The other counties really don't. They really don't. Mom's Meals is a frozen online meal service, and they're sending out a few here and there. But at this point in time, they're still a small organization in southeast Kansas. They don't do a lot of business down here, but they'll grow as time goes by, I'm sure. Via Christi provides some meal services. It's a different funding source, and they're usually specific things prescribed by a doctor for maybe a diabetic who also has another condition, and she might go with them rather than just sending them to us. So Via Christi in our area provides some.
They partner with Pittsburgh Meals on Wheels, I think, too, for
Right, yeah.
some of those. And do they have to meet any kind of dietary
I think that
standards?
they do. It's a different set of standards than what we have to go by because they're doing a medical thing. You know, I think they have to meet the requirements of that doctor in those conditions. And I really can't speak to that for sure. That's just the way I think it might be. And there was another one, let's see.
And I'm not sure who runs the Frontenac Meals on Wheels. I know,
We do.
I mean,
We do.
you do that? Okay.
Well, we don't run the senior center, but we deliver there.
Okay.
We deliver meals. With the Pittsburgh at the Homer Cole, we actually prepare meals there in that kitchen, and we serve them in the congregate setting, and we also do home delivered meals out of that kitchen. But other areas in Crawford County, like Arma, even Fort Scott, which is in Bourbon, Frontenac, all the little burgs, you know, all the way to the four-way stop on the way to Weir, you know, all the way to the Crawford County line.
Cherokee.
We deliver home-delivered meals to all of those little burgs out there. And some of them have a little senior center where they can go and meet, like Frontenac. And some of them are just home-delivered in that area.
And I know some places, like I've been down to Cherokee, they have a congregate meal just at certain times, a
Right.
certain day of the week where they, you know, serve it there.
And we
in-house
deliver
and stuff.
those meals to that setting. And then they if they have to heat them up again or set them out and serve them, or however, they serve the folks that come there. Yeah. So that's how that one works. We like to encourage them to go to the congregate setting because we believe that it's just healthier emotionally for the seniors to be able to interact and actually get out of the house and go somewhere. But there are some that just don't want to be tied down to that kind of a schedule. You know, well, I don't have a ride until 1, and you guys serve at 11:30, or just any number of things.
Right, sure.
You know, so the home delivered comes into play there. Now, the home delivered meals at this time, and I believe this is still being done out of Pittsburgh, although I would have to verify it. I believe we run the truck 4 days a week, or the vehicle 4 days a week, multiple vehicles. And on Thursday, I believe they deliver them 3 frozen meals, or at least 3 frozen meals, one for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So some of our home delivered people are actually receiving 7 meals a week. Now, the people that come to the congregate meals, they can take those 3 meals home with them if they want. They can choose to get those 7 meals if they want or need that. All they have to do is ask us, and it's available to them. But a lot of them haven't asked for that. When they're up and going, they like to meet Mary for coffee at Perry's on Sunday, and they like to, go shopping with their daughter on Saturday. So a lot of them are not requesting those extra meals, which I think they ought to just stick them in the freezer just in case for someday, but they don't want to do that. So, but it is available to them. So we make available to any of our meal recipients the 7 days.
Would you say I'm kind of looking at the numbers here, is the home delivered the larger?
Yes, it is here,
portion?
which, we have a sister agency out of Manhattan, and their congregate program is half again as large as their home delivered program.
Wow.
It's just more of a an urban setting.
Right.
Where our area is more of a rural setting. I guess that
Sure.
makes the difference.
Interesting.
It is hard for us to keep our congregate numbers up. They just, they want to stay home. I would too if I could.
Right.
I don't know. So,
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
feel free to send me questions or have Don send me questions anytime you think of something, and we'll do our best to get the answer.
Will do. Thank
Okay.
you so much
Thank
for
you very
coming.
much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You
All
too.
right. Yeah, you too. Good to
Bye-bye.
meet you.
Nice to meet you. I will remember you guys to Steve.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes, Steve, of course.
Okay. Next on the agenda, Mr. McYoung regarding the district court budget for 2020.
Good morning.
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 I think you should all have copies of my proposal. If not, I have extras if you would like one.
Don, had you sent those out?
Yeah, well, as part of the agenda,
Is it in the packet?
yes, as part of that merger.
There it is. Yep, sure enough. Thank you.
Got it? Yeah.
I got it.
So the form you're looking at is a reflection of the previous 2 years plus the proposal for fiscal year 2020, which begins January 1st. If I project that out to the end of the year, I have $432,500. The allotment for 2019 is $419,500. Now, that being said, I don't think that we will go over budget for the current fiscal year. We had a court trial about 6 weeks ago that was about, and I'm guessing because I don't have all the numbers, but it's going to be about $12,000. Now, the average everyday trial, if you will, runs about $1,500. So that's thrown my numbers off a little bit. I think that over the next 2 months, it will correct itself. So that is just a projection based on the current numbers that I have. If you look at the proposal for 2020, it's $422,500. Not that far from where we are currently. So basically, I'm proposing for 2020 basically the same monies that we're working with now. The trial that I referenced here about 6 weeks ago involved, the defendant was a Hispanic gentleman, and we had to have 3 interpreters for that particular trial. So I found a couple of interpreters that were experienced with trials. It was about $100 an hour for each. I wish I could speak Spanish. Yeah, they were very good. So in the trial was 4 days, so it added up pretty quickly.
So you said you thought you'd be able to balance this out by the end of the year?
Yeah, I'm confident that it will correct itself over the next 2 to 3 months. So my monthly allotment is roughly $34,000. I don't remember the exact number. But so currently in 2019, just for example, in January, we spent $36,321. In March, we spent $21,624 for the month. So it fluctuates enough from month to month. I think it will correct itself.
And those heightened numbers are reflective of the trial?
Which numbers?
The ones you just cited, the 36 and the 21.
No, that's total cost for the month.
I gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't remember what the number, I don't have the numbers for June, ending in June. It was, so those numbers would have been included in this month, it was around $40,000. The expenditures for the month of June. So that would have included those numbers. Also in those numbers, we had 2 courtroom recording systems that had to be replaced. One quit working completely. The other one was kind of hit and miss. That was about $10,300 to replace those 2 systems. So again, those are expenses that I normally wouldn't plan for in any particular month. I would have spread that out over time. I would have got one today and one 3 months from now.
Right.
But it happened that they were malfunctioning at the same time. And there's going to be some other equipment upgrades that I'm going to have to make. Windows 2007 will no longer be supported after January 1st, 2020. So I'm going to have to update all the court computers to Microsoft 10. What that number is right now, I don't know. I'm still in the process of inventorying what machines need to be updated. So that's going to be another fairly big number. But I try to plan that towards the end of the year, so I have a better idea of how much money I have to spend. It may be a situation where I can only do half of them in this fiscal year, and the other half will have to wait till we start a new budget cycle.
Now, on the utilities, so it dropped from the 41, almost 42,000
Right.
in 18 to 6,019. That's because the county took those over?
That's correct. Last year we agreed that the major utilities would come out of the budget, the gas and electric and those bigger ticket items. We obviously, we pay for telephone usage and we pay for internet usage out of the
Right.
court budget.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I think there was also kind of a
It's
feeling.
been a big help that way.
Yeah.
I don't have to track what utility costs are from month to month and figure out how that fits into what actual court costs are. So that's been a huge help, I think.
So then I'm looking at other kind of major fluctuations. The other big one is the trial costs, right? That this year,
Right.
like, is a spike, because like in 2018, it was like $6,000, and this year it's almost 20,000.
Right.
So you don't anticipate that being a continued?
No, for a trial to cost $12,000 is pretty rare.
Mm.
On average, we set about 25 to 30 trials a year. If you think about that, if each case went to trial, you're talking $75,000 just in trial costs. But 95% of them don't go to trial. So out of those, 30 trials that were set, you might have 5.
Right.
So that's kind of a crapshoot, if you will, in guessing what that number would be.
Now, since the criminal cases have moved from the district courthouse over here to Girard,
Right.
Has that put in any cost changes or anything
Yeah,
like that?
so that's going to affect some travel cost, because you have probation officers that are sitting in Pittsburgh that have to come to court, 3 times a week. So that number is going to change a little bit. There again, it's a guess on my part.
Mm. And with the jury trials, or with the criminal stuff happening over here, are there still jury trials over at the district court? Like, does that?
In Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some. But as far as the line of thinking is, if you have a criminal, if we're going to have a criminal jury trial and it's anticipated that there's going to be a security risk, we would do that in Pittsburgh. Just because it's a more secure facility.
We have the setup for it, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think those are all the questions that I had then. I'm looking through here, is employee pay at all reflected in this budget, or is that, because I know that you get money from separate, like, we're one of your funding sources, but not the sole one, correct?
Court employees are paid by the state of Kansas. The only thing that's paid with local dollars is the operations. So, no, there is no
Okay.
salaries. There has been in the past, when we had, what's his name?
Chuck,
Who?
wasn't it Chuck?
Chuck Smith.
Chuck, yeah.
He's a court reporter, and it was and that was before my time as court administrator. There was an agreement that he worked, I think, 20 hours a month, 40
Something
hours
like
a month,
that.
maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know. So that came out of, that was an operational expenditure that
I
we
gotcha.
made. We have a part-time clerk position here in Girard that and when I say part-time, the state of Kansas paid 20 hours a week. In the court budget would supplement the other 20 hours.
Right.
But we've been unable to fill that position. Those clerk positions start out at about it's getting ready to change. $13.36 an hour. That in and of itself is hard to do. And then when it's only halftime, because I have to advertise it at halftime, because that's what the state of Kansas says it is.
Right.
Even though, we've paid 40 hours, it's still half the benefits, half the accrued time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we have and I know Judge Bernetti has talked with the commission about that particular
has.
position. I don't like it, it's hard, but that's what we have. We have two of those positions in the district. We have one
Mm.
here, and we have one in Cherokee County that's half-time.
Mm.
So right now, yeah, there's no money in there for salary
Okay.
because I don't know when that's gonna happen. So,
Well, this is the budget form you have to submit to the state.
yeah,
Right,
that's, this
so-
form, I know this form looks different than what's given out to other county department heads, but I'm required to use this form for the Office of Judicial Administration.
Right. Well, the gist of it is the same. It's understandable.
But he could not include salaries on there, probably.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me give this to you, Dawn, before I forget. That has Chief Judge's signature on it.
Okay, yeah.
And that will, as you know, and that will need to come back to me at some point in time, so I can submit a final copy.
Mm.
As always, we appreciate what the commission can do for us. Struggling right now with when the new chiller is gonna be set in the back parking lot and what's gonna happen, are we gonna have to shut the building down for a couple of days? I just don't know yet. I did talk to James River guys were there Wednesday.
Campbell or whatever.
Yeah, and I talked a little bit with them, and they're thinking that they may want to try to shut it down like on a Friday afternoon, work the weekend, and bring it back up possibly Monday afternoon. I like that idea because if they take it down on a Monday, then it's going
That's half
to
the
pretty
week.
much affect the whole week.
Right.
I think once it goes down, it's going to take a couple of days to cool that building back down.
Mm.
So my concern and told them is I need to know as soon as possible because I think if that building's going to be closed, I'll need to do a publication so the public knows what's going on.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
It's good. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Enjoy the weekend.
You too, Matt. Thanks.
Thanks, Mac.
on new business. Dawn?
I don't have anything, sir.
Jim?
I'd like a 10-minute executive session at the end of the meeting for attorney-client privilege. That's all I have.
Okay. Jeremy?
I don't have anything. How are we doing on the budget, Don?
Pretty good. I'm still like this budget made, because I know there's some other things on our side that we need to probably include in it, other than, I think, what's on this document. I need to get an idea of how to include that on our budget. Then I'm waiting for, I need numbers for our health insurance, which our Blue Cross Blue Shield rep said that they should be running us what they call a early final. It's an estimate for the next year based on what's happened this year and other history. And then I need to get I think Alyssa is still working on road bridge budget. I put in some numbers, but I was just pulling them out of air based on history, and I don't know how. They're probably fairly close to actual, but I don't know of anything that's huge differences or that are going to take place.
Right.
But other than that, yeah, I'm pretty close to. Let's get ready to start putting in on that. Oh, there's a place on the. You had kind of alluded to it the other day, Jeremy. Our budget, this computation where we compute the maximum we can levy
Right.
without
Yes.
having to have an election.
Right.
And you basically, there's adjustments for law enforcement expenses, how they change between what we have budgeted this year and what we're wanting to budget for next year, and same way for emergency medical expenses. So, and for law enforcement, I use the sheriff, jail, and county attorney budgets. There's a couple schools of thought on that in the state that a lot of people think that county attorney is part of law enforcement, which I think it is. I mean, they are the ones who are prosecuting,
Right.
And there's a few folks that are not sure about that. There's not really any definitive, it's not been an attorney general's opinion or anything like that to say that, yeah, it should or should not be included.
Right.
And but I've listened to people on both sides of the fence, and I think that from listening to their logic about it, that yeah, really it is part of law enforcement. I mean, you've got people who are out on the roads, to try to apprehend criminals or whatever, but then also prosecuting them or things like that. That's also part of enforcing the law. So anyway, I was just getting ready to kind of start filling that in, but otherwise without those, even the maximum levy it was calculating based on new construction stuff was $13,813,000, and last year we got last year's budget here. We get to the certificate page here. Last year's budget, we levied $3,310,000, so there's about a $500,000 allowed increase in that maximum amount to levy even before those adjustments. So those adjustments will probably increase that by, what was my link evidently to the overhead. Okay. Oops. Doesn't do that very often, but anyway, there'll probably be an additional $600,000 or $700,000 over what we levied last year available to keep us underneath that limit that requires an election.
Right.
Anyway, what we levied last year, the 13,310,000, like I said, here, I've been on our 13,813,000, I mean, it's just barely over $500,000 increase, which is good. That's primarily because we've had a fair amount of new construction in the county. That's where most of that comes from.
Yes.
Anyway, I really need to get my employee benefits finished up, which, the biggest part of that is health insurance. So I need to have some more reliable numbers than my guesswork there, and then get with Alyssa and get those numbers in there. Joe had given me some good estimates on mostly our general fund, sales tax and technology, deeds, fees and things like that we collect during the year, and got that all in there. But it's pretty much then where we'll start looking at it and decide what changes you guys want to make as far as budget requests, things like that. One thing I did is we got into the thing on the Girard Museum proposal the other day. It made me review how we, let's see, no, it's up here. It's the Historical Museum page. But we have money that we appropriate just to all the historical societies, and then this museum matching funds. I've kind of kept it separate so we can see what we're doing there. And I had we've been paying basically like, I don't know, $17,500 each for the first two museums. Well, I kind of just added another $17,500 for what's 17,500? 14,500. Came up to 42,500 total. But as part of that, looking at the proposal for the Girard Museum, they had, as part of that, the agreement we had laid out first, where we pay more for the third one. And so really I need to have $45,000 in there. I mean, luckily we had never gotten where we're, doling out the entire amount that we had budgeted. So it hadn't been a problem. So I made sure I got that raised up to $45,000 for those matching funds for next year. So in the hopes that Girard will be able to get to where they're supposed to be after that 6-month probation and be, fully participating in that matching funds program. So, anyway, yeah, I started looking at this. Man, I didn't have enough money in there to fully fund 3 museums, kind of forget that the CVB's portion of that money went down with the addition of the second and third museum, and our portion went up. And we hadn't ever gotten to where we really had a third one to worry about there for a few years, so you kind of forget how that original schedule was drawn up. Anyways, things like that you realize that you need to make sure we get them in there right for the next year when they actually will probably come into play. Now, as we get into that, I have some, we can discuss how to approach the request from mental health for the additional 2 meals and some things like that. 'Cause, where exactly we probably would end up putting it in that mental health fund, I would think. I'll have to figure out exactly what that is. It's based on our values, and I can do that now, but I don't know if there's any other. I may talk to Jim and Joe about it and kind of understand where where we want to place that in the budget. It's kind of open, I think, for discussion right now, and where we're the best place to be to kind of throw that into the mix.
All right.
That's all I have.
Okay.
I have nothing at this time. Moving on to old business. Don?
That was probably my old business there.
Covered it already.
One of those
No, I don't.
horses you keep beating.
Jeremy?
I don't have anything.
I don't think I have anything this time either. We'll go ahead and do the executive session now. Make a motion to go to executive session for 10 minutes, attorney-client privilege with 2 commissioners and counsel.
I'll second.
Moving on to future business, July 2nd. County Clerk Don Powell presenting the June 2019 Clerk's Report. Also on July 2nd, County Clerk Don Powell presenting a 2019 Special Event Cereal Malt Beverage License. On announcements, July 5th, the regular meeting of the Crawford County Board of Commissioners is canceled. And July 4th and 5th, the courthouse will be closed in observance of Independence Day holiday. Any other business come forth Crawford County?
Oh,
Adjourn.
I'll second.